She banged on my door like the world was ending. "You can't keep all these cars here. The HOA voted to fine you $200 a day." I stepped outside, wiping grease off my hands. 3 of my old Fords were parked out front, plus my son's beat-up Chevy, and my nephew's motorcycle. She glared like I'd just opened a car dealership on her street. "Too many cars," she spat, waving a bright orange notice in my face. "HOA rules say no more than 2 per household. You either move them or we start the clock." I kept my voice calm. "Per household, huh?" She smirked like she'd won. "Exactly. You better learn the rules." What she didn't know, what no one here knew, was that every house on this street was my household. All of them, from number 101 down to 121. I'd bought them over the years, rented them out, and never once told the HOA. And now Karen was standing there, trying to pull rank, not realizing she was standing in front of the man who literally owned the block. I leaned against the doorframe, letting her talk. She listed violations, snapped pictures of license plates, even threatened to call a tow truck. I let her feel powerful for a few minutes, because in my head, I was already deciding exactly when and how I was going to flip this whole game on her. And trust me, when I did, the look on her face would be worth every second. The next morning, Karen showed up with backup, 2 HOA board members in polo shirts and clipboards. They strutted onto my driveway like they were conducting a military inspection. One of them started measuring the distance between my cars, muttering about code violations, while Karen filmed everything on her phone. "This is your official warning," she said loud enough for the whole street to hear. "Move these vehicles in 24 hours, or we'll fine you for every single one, every single day." I kept my hands in my pockets, fighting the urge to grin. "Every single one, huh? That's gonna cost you." She scoffed. "Cost me? You're the one about to lose thousands." That's when I dropped the first hint. "You sure about that?" "Because last I checked, I'm allowed up to 2 cars per household." Karen crossed her arms. "Exactly. And you have 6 households worth of violations here." I tilted my head. "No, I have 12 households. And they're all mine." They laughed like I was joking until I pulled a folder from my truck. Inside were the property deeds, every single one with my name on it. Karen stopped laughing first. One of the board members actually took a step back. You own all of them?" she stammered. I smiled. "Every brick, every patch of lawn, and according to your own rule book, I can have 2 cars per house. So technically," I gestured at my driveway, "I'm still under the limit." Karen's jaw tightened. She wasn't ready to lose this fight, but she had no idea how much worse it was about to get for her. That afternoon, I noticed Karen lurking across the street, pacing with her phone glued to her ear. She wasn't giving up, oh no. She was escalating. An hour later, a tow truck rolled into the neighborhood, followed by a security SUV with HOA enforcement plastered on the side. The driver jumped out, already hooking chains to my nephew's motorcycle. "Hey," I called out, walking over. "You got paperwork for that?" Karen strutted over like she'd summoned the cavalry. "We don't need paperwork. You're in violation and we're removing the excess vehicles." The tow truck guy looked uneasy. This is what the HOA told me, man." I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. "Cool. Then I guess I should tell you. You're trespassing on my property, and that security guy? He's about to have a really bad day." Karen laughed like I was bluffing right up until 2 sheriff's cruisers pulled onto the block. They weren't here for me. One of the deputies stepped out, looked at me, and nodded. "This the one?" I pointed straight at the HOA security guy and the tow driver. "Yep, both of them. No court order, no police notice, just trying to steal vehicles off private property." The deputy's tone went ice cold. "Sir, you're under arrest for unlawful towing and trespassing." Karen's smug smile cracked. "Wait, what? You can't arrest them. We're the HOA." The other deputy glanced at her. "Ma'am, HOA rules don't override state law. And unless you own this property..." He turned to me. "You do own it, right?" I just grinned. "Every inch of it." Karen's face flushed red, and for the first time since this started, she looked nervous. She still didn't know the second twist. I had lined up one that would make her wish she'd never set foot on my driveway. The very next day, I put that second twist into motion. I spent the morning at the county office, signing a few papers that cost me less than Karen's last manicure. By the time I got home, I had something she could never fight. An official notice, declaring me the HOA president. See, owning the majority of homes meant I held the majority of voting power. And with a quick special election, attended by exactly me, I removed the old board entirely. Karen's name? Wiped right off the roster. Around noon, I walked over to her house. She opened the door, already fuming. What do you want now? I handed her the envelope. Consider this your official HOA violation. She snatched the paper, scanning it, and her face went pale. You can't find me. Oh, I can. You've been parking your SUV halfway on the sidewalk, storing trash cans in plain sight, and leaving your porch light burned out for months. Each offense is, let's see, $150 a day. And since you love enforcement so much, I'm backdating them to the day I bought this place. Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked like she was trying to do the math but didn't want to believe the number. This is illegal. Nope, I said, tapping the HOA rulebook. Your rules. I'm just following them. Better than you ever did. The best part? She didn't even know about the third thing I'd done that morning, something that was going to hit her harder than every fine combined. That third thing was already in motion before she even slammed the door on me. I'd called the city zoning office earlier and filed a formal complaint about an unpermitted structure on her property. See, Karen had built herself a little backyard she shed last summer, complete with electrical wiring without a single permit. Normally, the city might just issue a warning, but with the photos I provided, along with proof she was charging rent for it under the table, they were more than happy to send an inspector. By late afternoon, a white city truck pulled up in front of her house. The inspector knocked, clipboard in hand. Karen stepped out, already defensive. I could hear her from my porch. This is private property. You can't just barge in here. The inspector calmly replied, Ma'am, you've got an unlicensed rental unit and unpermitted electrical work. We have the right to inspect. Her voice got sharper. This is harassment. Who even reported this? I leaned against my railing, sipping my coffee, and called out, That'd be me. HOA president's duty to keep the neighborhood safe. She spun toward me, eyes blazing. You. But before she could finish, the inspector cut her off. Ma'am, if you interfere with a city inspection, you could be facing fines of up to $10,000 and possible demolition orders. Her face drained of color. For once, she had nothing to say. She just stepped back and let them in. I smiled to myself, because I knew what the inspector was about to find, and that shed would be the nail in her coffin. 20 minutes later, the inspector walked out, shaking his head, snapping photos as he went. Karen trailed behind him, stammering excuses about temporary wiring and just a hobby space. He ignored her. Ma'am, this structure is a safety hazard. We've got exposed live wires, no insulation, and 0 permits. You're looking at multiple violations, and we'll be issuing a demolition order, unless it's brought up to code within 30 days. Karen's jaw dropped. Demolition? You can't, this is my property. The inspector didn't even glance at her. Not until it's safe, it's not. He handed her a thick packet of citations, then climbed into his truck and drove off. She just stood there, clutching the papers like they might dissolve if she squeezed hard enough. Then she looked up at me across the street. You think you've won? She hissed. I walked down my steps slowly, stopping just at the edge of her driveway. Oh, I haven't even played my best card yet. That's when I told her, since you've been fined by the city and violated HOA bylaws, your voting rights in the HOA are suspended until you pay everything you owe, which means you no longer have a say in anything. She stared at me like she was trying to figure out if I was bluffing. But deep down, she knew. She'd just lost every ounce of power she had in this neighborhood.